Hello and welcome to this wonderful panel discussion today we have on the networking and learning group. Uh, Today we are joined in by few experts from this facility management industry. We have Sarah and Faris joining from two different countries, and this is going to be a great discussion. Today we are talking everything facilities, a 360-degree round facilities management talk. We start with core operations, we slowly move out to some of the challenges, and then we focus on what lies ahead. Before starting the session today, let me give the opportunity for the panelists to introduce themselves. Faris, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Yeah, thanks for that, Jason, and thanks for having me today. Sarah, it's nice to meet you as well. I guess to kick things off, my name's Faris. I'm a trilingual Australian attorney and commercial facilities manager, as well as IFMA corporate council member. And I guess commercial real estate is my bread and butter, and jumping into the facilities management field, I guess makes you a more well-rounded and knowledgeable professional. So that's where we're at the moment, and I've really enjoying the field. There's so much to learn, and I think it's an ongoing, growing field, really. So that's my little intro. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Over to you, Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Bomarito. I am in the United States. I have spent my entire career in facilities management, corporate real estate, and construction project management, as well as operational excellence. I have a black belt in both PMO and operational excellence, and I really am very passionate about this field. You get to dive in, and it's constant problem solving, complex issues and resolutions. So, really excited for our conversation today. I serve as a director of facilities, managing all of the things that I mentioned previously, and I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm also excited to share some of the expert panel talk today with our audience. We are going to talk on facilities management, how we are managing today, and how we are going to innovate tomorrow. And operations and maintenance is the core, I would say, of a facility management industry. If you fail there, then both your client retention, your client satisfaction is at stake. So, Sarah, the first question which comes to my mind is, what is the role of operations and maintenance, especially in this facility management industry, and how does it helps to manage the day-to-day activities of a particular facilities?
Absolutely. When it comes to operations and maintenance, it's a core competency in facilities management. It's our job to keep the lights on, to keep the HVAC systems running, coolers, chillers, all of those things. And so it's definitely a core competency of ours to keep the building running. And when we're successful, the business is successful. And the way that I've always described it to people is facilities is operational support at its heart. And so what everything that we do, it needs to be with the bigger picture in mind, knowing that when we operate and we execute, it supports the business. And we are always looking for ways to ensure that maintenance is going well. So, and I know that we'll touch on these things in a little bit, but there's reactive maintenance, which is the break fix, preventative maintenance, and even now predictive maintenance. And so, as we're taking all of these things and driving them forward, we really want to ensure that everything we do ties back to the corporate goals, corporate strategies, and ensures that operations can do what they do best.
Faris, would you like to add something here?
Well, I guess similar to what Sarah said, effective operations and maintenance are technically, the backbone of any facility. If you think about it, without HVAC, proper lighting, or work, I guess, functioning plumbing, a building is essentially unusable. So a smooth running facility allows occupants to, focus on what matters, whether it's work or learning or just a regular daily living. For example, if HVAC systems are working optimally, employees stay nice and cool and comfortable, so that improves productivity. And for facilities like hospitals or schools, these systems are, you know, even more critical. They're essential since they directly impact the health and safety of those in it.
Right. Right. And Sarah, we've been talking on preventive maintenance in our earlier podcast, and how it is important in managing the whole facilities. Uh, what is your take on how it helps in avoiding costly repairs and improving the longevity of facility systems?
Absolutely. So everything that I like to do is I try to put it in lay terms, because a lot of people think that they understand facilities because they own a home or they've worked in a building, but they don't always understand the ROI on why we do the things that we do. And so the example that I like to use is, do we wait for the motor to blow up on our car before we get the oil changed? The answer is no. So everything that we do, we look at it as an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So as we're managing these assets and really leaning into the preventative maintenance, it's as part of the total like life cycle asset management strategy. And as we're managing these assets, putting in preventative maintenance measures into place based on industry standards, vendor recommendations, whatever the case may be, ensuring that all of these building systems or equipment are operating at the best levels that they can. We really make sure that we have the assets for longer, that they run more optimally. And some of the benefits of this is if we're replacing air filters and HVAC, or we're changing oil or checking fluids, these assets will last longer and so it really helps with that total life, that asset life cycle management piece, where it just keeps everything moving forward and we have the assets longer. So it moves it from a CapEx expenditure to an OpEx. And so we just budget it in as we're doing our annual quarterly budgets and make sure that these things are being done, because it really avoids the costly repairs later on down the road.
Right. You mentioned longevity of assets there. Faris, if we have to design a comprehensive maintenance strategy, how would you design it? What are the factors you would keep in mind?
Look, I'll probably, what are our stakeholders' objectives, I think, are the key um, things you'd want to factor in. What are the building's priorities? Like we said at the start, facilities management is a changing market and developing market. So I think it's important to study the market trends as well in the industry. And I always like to refer to the triple C feedback, I guess, which is client, colleague, and customer feedback. So just really do your research, and obviously budgeting plays a great role. But I think to fall on your backbone, those are my four before I make my decisions on budgeting.
Yeah. Sarah, you want to add something?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, just to lean on to Ferris's point is, making sure that they align with the goals, pull everything back to the overall company strategy and goals to ensure that you have buy-in, make sure everybody's in the same boat, rowing in the same direction towards the same goal, and really taking in all those factors. And as a, director of facilities, bridging that gap between senior leadership and all the other colleagues, subordinates, and things like that, is really being able to speak both languages, explaining to the CFOs of the world, this is why we need to make this investment, because everything that we do when it comes to building out these strategies and plans, it has a cost. And so it's being able to be able to articulate as to why these things are important. And so for me, that's the number one thing, is making sure that they align with company strategies, clear goals as to what we're doing and why, and being able to articulate that across the board, and taking all of that information and building out the plan, making sure that you have the right headcount, insourcing versus outsourcing, making sure that everybody is trained, or we have the vendors on hand to be able to do these things. And so it seems pretty simple, but it's really not. And so it's simple, not easy. And making sure that we have this full scope built out with buy-in at all levels.
Yeah, it's great that Sarah mentioned that finance part, especially when the debate comes in housing or outsourcing. CFOs are involved in decision making as well as COOs as well. There is always a kind of debate who is managing the facilities. Is it the budget? Is it the person who is approving the budget, or is it the person who is actually heading the operations? Faris, your take on how these financial challenges can be a burden for executing the project, and what's your take on the CFO versus COO kind of a debate which is going on in the facility management industry?
Everyone plays a role at the end of the day, right? And without one group performing their task, you can't really reach your overall, I guess, growth and success as a team as one. So um, I think I like the split um, roles or I guess duties equally. But I think there are obviously priorities, which is what are we trying to achieve, and one party might be a little less involved than the other. And at the end of the day, I think distributing everything equally gives everyone equal attention, I guess, to perform at their highest level. That's how I like to think about it.
Yeah. When we talk about the facilities management in general, rules and regulations are very much important. As we know that IFMA is one of the body which regulates the whole facility management industry. Faris, would you like to share some compliances set by IFMA, which the organizations needs to follow in terms of facility management, and how the safety protocols can be taking place?
Sure. I think what's great about IFMA is there's so many courses about different fields or different areas to target and facilities management. But I think when you refer to the a recent course I did involved inspections and maintenance to occupant the regular contributions toward inspections and maintenance to occupant safety with IFMA was they reminded me sort of how important regular inspections were to ensure like all systems, so whether it was HVAC, plumbing, electrical, um, all those systems were in order to ensure you're keeping the people in the building safe. So obviously, like I highlighted before, no one likes working in an uncomfortable or an unsafe space. You wouldn't, and it even goes back to what Sarah said. You wouldn't wait till your car breaks down to fix it, right? So um, you wouldn't live in a home and wait until it broke down then fix it. Ideally, so um, maintenance is key. So it keeps the air quality clean in the building and temperature controlled. And we have a lot of elevators in our building, so systems like elevators, it's crucial to ensure they're running um, smoothly, I guess. So when facilities are properly maintained, I guess overall satisfaction is achieved by facilities team as well as those in it. And the likelihood of surprises or disruptions are sort of depleted to a minimal.
Yeah. And Sarah, I wanted to ask you also about the rules and regulations and the regulating bodies in US, especially in the facility management industry. Is it challenging to follow all those regulations based on your experiences?
It can be at times. It's ensuring that there's a solid understanding of state and local municipalities, what their regulations are. It varies widely depending on where you are in the US, but the kind of overall body that affects every site and every location is OSHA. So OSHA, that's where the safety really falls in, making sure that workers are not operating in dangerous environments or atmospheres, if it's too hot, too cold, things like that. So it's just really having a solid understanding of what those are. And I've been very lucky in my career to work with some phenomenal director of safeties, head of ESH, to really make sure that we're in alignment with those things. And so in the US, when it comes to OSHA, I've had some amazing experiences with colleagues, but when it comes to the building requirements, that is making sure that we're working with our general contractors, with our architects, making sure that we're all in alignment and in lockstep as we move forward with our projects. And so once you lock those in, though, it's pretty standard. And so just really operating to those highest qualities.
Yeah. And you mentioned safety and all those protocols. Is it, I mean, I see people on the ground still hesitant to wear those safety helmets, still walking around barefooted. So, do you think that uh, these rules and regulations imposing on these ground people or the frontline workers is challenging, and how do they take it?
Yeah, for me, I've seen drastic improvements over about the last 10 years. a lot of the, I call them the blue collar, all the blue collar workers, they really do have a solid understanding now as to what is required of them. And so it is a lot better now. And companies are offering allowances for the proper safety boots. They're providing the hard hats, the safety vests, things like that. And so it's companies working together with the employees to streamline communications, level set the expectations as to what's required, and then the corporations doing their part with providing allowances and the PPE for these job sites. And so it's a lot better here in the US than it was 10 years ago. And I continue to see it improve every single year.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good thing to know
Mm-hmm.
also, that there is constant or continuous improvement, as we say, in this particular
Mm-hmm.
industry. Faris, now some financial part. Basically, it's always hard to get the budgets approved from the top level management for your spends. What's your take on how a budget should be framed? It should be at the start of the year, or it should be at the close of the year. What is your take on budgeting in this facility management industry?
I think the way I like to go about it is probably towards the end of the year, heading into the start. So I would say towards the close of the year, because you can really reflect on the past year and where it potentially went wrong and where we went right. And just on reflecting on and how you would have went about things differently. Maybe I would have approved budget towards a specific area, or depending on maybe even prioritizing faults over other faults, and it all goes back to what's in the best interest of the company. But I really do think towards the end of the year, it gives you a lot of time to reflect over the past year, or what we could have done differently, and then you head into the new year,
Right.
learning from potential mistakes if there are any.
Right. And Sarah, have you encountered challenges in this particular budget approvals in your work experience?
Absolutely, always. I feel like that this is a constant conversation in facilities management. There's so much we want to do, but so little funds for us to do it. And I know you and I have talked about this before, Jason, that facilities isn't a revenue generating department. So we have to be good stewards of the money that we're given, and we have to become really good at explaining and articulating the ROI on every single thing that we do. And so for me, it's really aligning all of those things again and making sure that we are able to clearly lay out the path. And for me, this is something that I'm very passionate about, is once we align facilities as a strategic partner within the business, not just people who take care of the building, but people that have a seat at the table. When we can do that, earn our seat at the table, and we lay out, here's our 12-month plan, our 12 to 36 month plan, 36 plus month plan, and really lay those out, those like 1, 3, 5 year ideas that we have, it makes the budgeting a lot more simple. Because we can prioritize. So if there are safety issues within the building, if we have HVAC systems that are constantly down and having critical failures, we can prioritize those. And then the nice to haves, like, we've talked extensively about the IoT sensors and devices. Those can be that, 2, 3, 5 year plan to pull those in. And so when we're strategic partners and we're at the table when these conversations are happening, we can ensure that our voice is heard, to clearly lay out the plan, to ensure that we have the funds that we need to maybe lean into the LEED certifications or the WELL certifications and all of these things to make the buildings better for our employees, clients, and customers. It's a game changer. And so we still have a long way to go in creating that strategic partnership and changing the historically tactical view of facilities into a strategic partner. But we've come so far in the last 10 to 15 years. I'm excited to see what the next 5 to 10 years has. But once we can get there and we're viewed as a strategic partner in all of these discussions, I think that the budgeting piece will be easier. I mean, it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be like, hey, here's a blank check. But it will definitely, if we can make the case, it's going to make things better for everyone involved.
Right, right. And before touch basing on the future of facilities management, I wanted to also ask Faris and Sarah both on the sustainability element, because we have discussed on this particular subject. how green are we going about the LEED buildings, LEED certified buildings, the green buildings, even the green supply chain, the circular supply chains all over the world. Let me ask Faris, what's your take on sustainability in this particular industry?
Look, I guess sustainability has really become a top priority, and it's great to see how much emphasis is really being placed on green building practices in the industry. So personally, I believe that we have a huge opportunity to make a real environmental impact. And I personally I believe through sort of smarter energy use and waste reduction. But also it's things like installing energy efficient lighting, implementing smart thermostats as well, and using the sustainable materials. These are all steps that take us towards the right direction for a really positive approach. And then what really excites me is the increasing use of renewable energy sources. So you're seeing solar panels, or wind energy. These things are helping buildings really become net zero, or sometimes even energy positive. So the more we can make sustainability part of the fabric of a building, it's better for the planet and those inside it.
Yeah. I know, Sarah, you love to talk about sustainability in facility management industry. Europe is always the frontliners in this particular segment. What's about US and other parts of the world?
So in the US, it really is regional. So there are certain regions that do better than others. Where I'm at, we're still crawling, and so for me, where I'm at in Tennessee now, a lot of it is, well, why would we want to do that? It's not necessarily the ESG mindset. So the path that I personally take in this is, hey, here's the ROI. If we implement a recycling program, if we do energy efficient lights, like switch to LED and the sensors and the water, the special water filtering and restricting faucets and toilets, there is a financial impact. And so some areas in the US are absolutely cutting edge when it comes to the ESG initiatives and doing it because it's the right thing to do. And there are other areas where we're still behind. And so we're having to push that ROI view of it and building upon all of the small steps to get there. And so I know that there are other areas in the world that do better and some that are still up and coming. And so for me personally, I'm excited to see where we land in the next decade or so when it comes to this. I know that it's constantly changing, especially here in the States. And so just really leaning into the positive of, hey, even if it's not, the for the environment, hey, here's the financial impact. And it's making the case either direction, and just really understanding your audience and understanding the corporate goals and what we're trying to do. But ultimately, I'm very, very passionate about doing what's right for the environment and for everyone that's going to follow us, and making sure that we're leaving the world a better place than we found it. And so, whatever tactics we have to use, I hate to use that word tactics, but it really is to get us rolling down the road, even if it's just financial, take every single step of it and move it forward.
Exactly. In this part of the world, we are also adopting the sustainability initiatives. Let's see how it goes, because we have fully digitalized government operations in this part of the world. So sustainability is not the buzzword; it's really in action in this part of the world. Although Europe is the front runners on this particular segment. Now let's move to the future of facilities management. What lies next? What we have seen artificial intelligence. It's gone are the days that adoption we needed to adopt AI for all these segments, but now we are talking about quantum. We are talking about all those things which are the next level. Faris, your take on AI or maybe the IoT devices, the new technological development in this segment?
Yeah, look, I think I guess automation and AI are going to become central to the future of facilities management. From automating routine maintenance tasks to using AI to monitor systems and predict upcoming failures. these technologies, they'll definitely drastically reduce human error, I guess, and improve efficiency, which I think is the goal with anything AI related. The push is really towards the idea that it will reduce human error. It would also allow facilities to operate in a more sustainable and cost efficient manner if you are looking at to replace and rely on AI. While offering potentially a better experience for those inside the buildings. And it's exciting, shifting us from reactive to a proactive model. Um, and it goes back to what I said earlier, before the actual it predicts the failure. So instead of waiting for something to break or to go faulty, AI uses data, whether it's sensors or it's past performance, I guess, to predict these issues before they happen. So ultimately, you're looking at less downtime and fewer performance, fewer emergency repairs, I guess, and which not only saves us money, obviously, but also extends the lifetime of equipment. So something, it's a game changer, honestly, to keep things running and moving smooth and efficiently.
It is a game changer. Sarah, your take on this?
Absolutely. I know that we've had extensive conversations about CMMS, CAFM, BMS, IoT devices, sensors, all of those things, and those are definitely the future. Using all of that information, all the historical data, the IoT devices that are integrated to be able to see what's going on with the machine. I would love to see augmented reality come into play when it comes to the sensors, being able to have a 3D look on an iPad or whatever to where the technician can see this, hey, this is exactly where the issue lies. And when we do that, and we really, like, to Ferris's point, whenever we lean on this and automate a lot of these day-to-day tasks, that really helps drive that transition from tactical to strategic for facilities management, to where we have a lot of these day-to-day tasks that used to be a full-time job, automated and streamlined. Then we can focus on the strategy, leaning into sustainability, leaning into these initiatives, ensuring that, when we're building out new spaces and we have construction, that we're leaning into the LEED certifications, well certifications, all of those things. And so for me, I'm very excited for what the future holds in facilities management. And as we move forward, and AI is at the heart of it. AI is at the heart of everything that we're doing and moving forward, because it allows us to see trends that we may not see with our human eyes. It's able to pull the data in and quickly say, hey, this is the pattern that I'm seeing, versus us sitting here for hours on end looking through data. So augmented reality, AI, IoT sensors and devices, all of these things really come together to create a very exciting future of facilities management.
Right. And we're quickly coming to the end of the session. Before winding up, I was today in the morning reading the Future of Works report by WEF, World Economic Forum, and I was stunned to see a lot of staggering figures. Some roles being redundant, and some roles AI is taking over all those roles. Uh, do you think that we are ready for this kind of a development in terms of skill gap analysis? Sarah, I would like to ask you, and then move on to Faris as well. How are we ready to face this kind of development, especially in this facility management world?
This is a great question. As I said earlier, historically, facilities management has been old school, for lack of a better term. It's very tactical, very hands-on. And for those of us that are leaning into these technologies, yes, I do believe we are ready for the future. However, those that don't want to adapt are going to find themselves obsolete. And so my word of advice to anyone who's listening that is resistant to these changes, don't be. Take some LinkedIn learning, Google searches, watch YouTube videos, figure out what you can do to stay relevant, because there are going to be redundancies, and there are going to be, while the industry is growing and there'll be more positions that way, there are going to be less positions in this field, because of how streamlined things are becoming, proactive maintenance, predictive maintenance, all of those things. There's going to be less of these positions that have been historically in this field. So my advice is lean in, learn more, figure out where you fit into this, because if you don't, you will become obsolete. And that's really what the future holds in facilities management.
Right. Faris, your take on this?
Completely agree with what Sarah had to say. I also think we're really just scratching the surface on how these technologies can improve our operations. So we're only really getting a taste, and we're so fascinated in it. And so down the line, once they evolve even further, it's going to become the norm, I guess. It's an exciting service as it is now, but later down the track, this will become the norm. So it's crucial that FMs jump on the trend, I guess, and do their research and learning. So, um, there's so many ways to learn. Whether it's online courses, mobile apps, or even VR simulations. Um, but I think VR is probably the most interesting. It exposes you really to sort of experience the scenarios for yourself, like managing an emergency solution or troubleshooting equipment, but whatever it is. Um, and it's not just facilities management, all fields are evolving, but I guess goes back to what I said earlier. I really do think we are only scratching the surface and just getting started. So the earlier you can really, um, I guess, expand your knowledge and really um, push to develop yourself to become a more well-rounded and developed FM, I think you'll thank yourself in the long run and really be it's great to be open to change and really welcome the change in a positive light if it can benefit your career long term.
Yeah. And IFMA has a wonderful knowledge library also online. If you can go and just check it out, it has a wonderful knowledge library which has a lot of trending knowledge base database on how different facility management managers would like to perform and how to get answers to all those complicated terms and things which we are using in our daily activities. Before winding up the session, Sarah, your quick um, takeaway session, just for 2 minutes, and then we'll pass on to Faris, and then we'll quickly wind up.
Absolutely. Facilities management is such an exciting field to be in, with everything that has been done historically to where we are now to where we're looking. If you were to step into this world now from 10 years ago, it looks very different. And that is going to be the trend. It is going to constantly be changing, because if we don't evolve, we don't move forward. We become obsolete. And so for me, embrace these technologies, embrace the ideas of ESG and sustainability. Lean in. If you are unsure how to have conversations with your executive leadership team, with the C-suite, get comfortable with it. That is what makes us strategic partners, being able to convey these complex ideas in a way that senior leadership either doesn't have the time or the technical skills to understand. Be on your game. Understand how to convey these complex ideas to your leadership to get the budget, to make sure that you're sitting at the table, to be a strategic partner. That is the goal of facilities management, is to be strategic. Yes, tactical is always going to be a core competency of ours. The reactive maintenance is always going to happen. We want to limit how much it happens. We want to be able to get ahead of it, get the technologies that we need. But in order to do that, we have to be strategic partners. And that is what the future of facilities management looks like. Lean in, learn what you can, and leverage that moving forward. And then you'll be successful in this field.
Yeah, those are golden words. Faris, over to you. Your closing remarks on today's podcast.
Very well said, Sarah. And I think it comes down to anything really. Why restrict yourself to one sort of niche? So, as you said, tactical is great, but why restrict yourself to tactical when strategic plays such a huge role? And I think the most important thing always is overall growth, really, as one. So I guess putting the facilities team in the best light to really um, earn yourself that seat at the table to make businesses that really impact the business as a whole. So I won't touch up on that too much. I think it doesn't get any better than how well Sarah highlighted it over there. But I think I'd like to touch back on, how important it is to stay ahead of the industry trends and for even all facilities managers to really appreciate the need to understand the future of needs of the occupants in the buildings or trends that are upcoming. So push for constant learning and really be open for change where it may be there. So attend those industry events. Fortunately for me, Jason reached out and we got in touch and connected, and get to have this lovely talk that we're having here, and just bounce off of each other's ideas. But things as in heading to events, networking with those around you, similar to Jason and I, and then really investing in your professional development. Like Sarah said, sorry, you can't go wrong. You will succeed in the field. Understand the demands and analyze data that offer insights into the future needs of occupants and the future of facilities management. The post COVID-19, understandably, there was an increase in remote and hybrid working models. So it might be worth diving into that and understanding the flexibility and scalability of a workplace. I think that's something that's become increasingly important. So I really do push for becoming a more well-rounded professional to adapt to the market ahead.
Yeah, there is a lot of things to be discussed in this particular industry. It's 1 hour or 45 minutes is not enough to discuss. We had a whole 12 series of podcasts with Sarah over different subjects. We'll keep it rolling. We'll keep it coming in the next few months. We will discuss on key elements in the facility management industry. We know that lots of improvements, developments are going to take place in this year, particularly 2025, as it's a year of transformation. So, all the best to Faris and Sarah. Thanks a lot for joining today's panel discussion. Have a great day ahead, and wishing you all the best in the future.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.